Welcome to Businesslines State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hello, and welcome to Businesslines podcast. This is Sanjana, the publication's tech reporter. In this episode, we explore how artificial intelligence is not just a buzzword anymore, but a transformative force sweeping across India's most vital industries. From revolutionizing healthcare and finance to optimizing supply chains and retail, AI is reshaping the way businesses operate at their core. To talk more on this, we have with us today Siddesh Naik, the country leader for data and AI software at IBM India and South Asia, and Rajesh Ganesan, the CEO of ManageEngine. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjana.
Yes. So maybe you could start by, talking about how AI is reshaping a lot of industries in India and what sectors are benefiting the most, from a technology like this. Would you like to start, Mr. Siddesh?
Yep. Thank you. So Sanjana, AI saw an inflection point. This happened about a year and a half back when the whole foundation model created a massive hype cycle. I think we've come a long way from over the last 2 years, wherein organizations have started moving beyond the initial exploration, experimentation to slowly start moving into production. The industries that are at the forefront of this is certainly the BFSI, the banking and the insurance segments have taken the lead on this. A very significant investment actually across the board from a BFSI perspective is what we've seen. We've also seen a good amount of uptake from a healthcare, pharma and government perspective. It's the beauty about this is while AI was very specific to certain domains earlier, now it is the extensibility of AI is extending across practically every domain, be it the LOBs like marketing, finance, sales, you name it and you have it. It's become like the art of the possible. If there is a pain point, in all likelihood, the AI solution can address it in entirety or a sizable amount of it.
Rajesh, would you like to go next?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Sanjana. I of course agree with most of what Siddesh said. But one thing I always want to start with in any AI conversation, we have been speaking about AI a lot in the last 2-3 years, especially after the advent of the OpenAI, ChatGPT, the so-called LLMs, or Siddesh mentioned about foundational models. But AI has been around for a long time, right? So we are specifically talking about generative AI, or in 2025, we are talking about agentic AI and whatnot, conversational assistants. So in a way, AI has had a place in the field of technology for at least the last few decades. It's also had a profound impact, had a lot of influence. So we often talk about transformative as a buzzword. I want to look at this trend of what we are seeing in AI as part of a very normal part of your digital transformation journey, right? So we have to go back to the basics, right? Because we speak about AI expecting it to do a lot of magic, expecting it to solve a lot of problems automatically, right? So which is why we even have aspirations like AI is going to transform all the industries, but you have to think about how is that going to happen? Are you just going to push a button and everything's going to work, right? So this is where AI is great. It's definitely gone beyond just being a hype. It is able to deliver value. It is full of substance. But companies have to also ask these questions, industries. Are we in the right state? Are we ready to leverage AI, right? So, which means you should have done a lot of basics, right? What are these basics? I spoke about digital transformation and digital transformation as a journey. Have you already had the discipline to digitalize all your processes, right? So do you think digital first when you talk about all your processes, operations, your workflows? Have you built the right set of data infrastructure? How much you care for the sanctity of the data, how clean your data is, that is very important. Have you built the foundational layers for information security, privacy, all of it into your infrastructure already, right? So these are the basics I'm talking about. And then it becomes easy to answer your question. So what are the industries that are getting transformed because of AI? I would sort of give a very generic answer. Not just industries, it is enterprises who have had this discipline of building a robust underpinnings, so to say, with their digital transformation journey. They will be the first to leverage what AI needs to offer, right? So I just wanted to, because this is a topic that gets discussed quite frequently, I wanted to start with my perspective, my opinion, where we often jump directly into the conversation of AI transforming things, but we have to also think about the basics. Do you have the right infrastructure, right approach, right discipline, right processes that allows you to leverage AI, right? So industries and companies that are ready to leverage AI will be the first to get transformed and leverage the benefits that AI has to offer. Because 2025, the latest we are talking about is agentic AI, and every week we have some breakthrough, right? So often you get into a point where you don't even know what choice should I make as a business. So again, my strong conviction is go back to the basics. If you have done the basics right, you will be able to leverage the best that AI has to offer to meet your objectives.
How has the AI for IT operations or AIOps market evolved over the past few years, and how is it slated for further growth? Can you explain with some real world use cases? Rajesh, would you like to go first?
Yes, certainly, right? So especially from the perspective of ManageEngine, right? So we are technology solutions provider. We are a technology vendor focusing on managing the IT infrastructure. IT operations is an important part of it. How AI gets applied in the context of IT ops? How is that evolving, right? So what is the basic idea of IT operations? So enterprises make a lot of investments in building their technology infrastructure, right? So you are building your on-premises data center, you are investing in building your cloud infrastructure, all your application infrastructure is running hybrid. You have hundreds of thousands of customers accessing your services from anywhere in the world. You have geographically distributed business operations. All of this is backed by your technology infrastructure. You want to basically make sure all your investments on this infrastructure, you are getting the right returns, which means if you are an e-commerce vendor, if you are in BFSI giving net banking, right? Even a 2-second delay in running your transaction, multiply it by tens or whatever orders of magnitude, you are looking at a massive consequences in terms of revenue, in terms of your reputation and all of that. So the basic idea of IT operations is before something is going to fail, you want to be in a position to know, right? So something is going to fail. And before even it fails, before users start to complain, before things go bad, you should be in a position to even address the issue. That is the idea of doing IT operations. Despite all these objectives, generally it used to be very reactive and manual IT operations, right? So you will have software, you will have solutions in place. They will collect a lot of data from different parts of your infrastructure. They will crunch all the data, give you insights about what's going to go wrong. But the level of automation, the level of proactivity required wasn't there, right? So only from 2016 or 2017, we could really leverage the power of machine learning, right? So the idea of machine learning, not just artificial intelligence, where machines could learn trends. They could identify patterns. They could make predictions. They could find and tell what is an anomaly that's happening in the network, right? So is that a normal incident? Is that a false positive? Or is that a really a severe security incident? These are things that are impossible to manually follow and operate, right? So you needed system. That is when AIOps came in. That is how it is evolving. So from being reactive and manual, you are starting to become more proactive and automated. And where AIOps is heading, it's able to not only detect that something is going to go wrong, is able to pinpoint, right? So usually root cause analysis is something people do after an incident or after fixing an incident. Now the AIOps systems are capable enough, right? So to identify the root cause of the problems that is causing the symptom, right? So that is where we are evolving to the point that they are also able to make suggestions of improvements, right? So why wait till something going wrong? You can already make improvements in terms of how you can optimize the systems. That is where AIOps is heading. From being very reactive to manual, it first became proactive and automated. Then it was bringing in a lot of intelligence in the form of doing proactive root cause analysis. Now we are thinking about or already seeing AIOps being able to also be very prescriptive about how things should change, how your processes should change, how your infrastructure should change, where you should be spending your investment more on all of these things. So this is how I see the AIOps market evolving, Sanjana.
Siddesh, would you like to go next?
Yeah, actually, Rajesh covered a lot of it. Let me add to a few things to what Rajesh said. Like Rajesh said, right, the complexity has gone. The multidimensional predicament has the complexity conundrum has significantly gone up. You have hybrid scenario. You have multiple platforms. You have the environments which are so diverse and siloed. How do I have a platform that manages all of this, right? And let me give you an example. A UPI failing in a bank, your APM tool telling you the UPI has failed means nothing. Your transaction decline tells you that UPI has failed. But how do you deep trace it back to the last point? What has caused the failure is a piece that is of course required. And it is now evolving to the next level, like what Rajesh alluded to. It is evolving to a level where it is getting into proactive incident management. In fact, we are attempting something, and we deployed this across a few large banks at this point in time. I would say initial days it's evolving, but into a element where we call it as intelligent remediation, which means there is a problem that the application management tool has detected, and you have now Gen AI triggering intelligent remediation for it. And you of course want to test it out. So you may trigger it on a UAT environment and see how it evolves. The next aspect that's coming in is how do I bring in Gen AI to do an RCA? How does the RCA come in? And we have a clear root cause analysis that comes in. So there are two aspects to it. One is the machine learning aspects, which give you the correlation and the ability to pinpoint on what's causing the impact and the correlation between various applications that's going to be impacted. And the next aspect is the elements of RCA that can come in. Going a step further than this, so this is what you call as the application performance monitoring aspects, where you're monitoring your applications, your infrastructure, all of it. Now, as you move on to the next level, which is what you call as application resource management. Now, as a business owner, as an application owner, you own two aspects of the business. One is the application performance, which is your business itself, because any latency would mean a business impact. So you own that, and you own costs as well. And these are typically opposite sides of the coin. Now, how do I have a platform that gives you, so if your application is running out of resources, how do I provide it resources real time so that and as a business owner, you're able to commit to application performance and at the same time keep your costs down? How do I achieve that? And that's where AI is coming in terms of what you call as application resource management layer. So yeah, that's what the story is all about. And it's evolving by the day. Practically every month, every quarter, we are seeing something new come up in this field.
Rajesh, you earlier mentioned AI agents. So, expanding on that, how do AI agents go beyond your traditional RPA solutions or Gen AI in terms of capability and intelligence?
Yeah, again, like how we spoke about AIOps, things were more reactive and manual. The LLMs, so to speak, in the last 2-3 years, the kind of breakthrough that we have seen. To talk about RPA as an example, how agentic capabilities enhance RPA. RPA was like road automation, right? So it was automation that was increasing productivity, but without applying a lot of intelligence. Give you a very, very simple, basic example. Big enterprises having few thousand employees, many pain points for the team running IT infrastructure. Things like configuring the Wi-Fi or configuring the printer. This is something people struggle a lot because despite all the advancements that have been happening, for me to be wherever within my office premises, I could be like moving across buildings. Can I, with one touch of a button, print a sheet of paper, even though we don't print as much? So this is where RPA was applied. As an end user, not so tech savvy, I'll just click one button. What would happen is an agent would execute series of action. It did not have any intelligence. It would just execute pre-recorded set of actions that used to be called as RPA. Now we have the power of generative AI or the power of LLMs, which absolutely, like, once they are trained for the context, they are able to understand a lot more things. They are intelligent, so they are able to make decisions. So as an end user, I need not even think about configuring the printer, right? As part of my actions, I do my job. I am preparing a report. Now this agent has the intelligence to ask me, it may look like breach of my privacy, but it is also quite powerful. It could ask me, do you at some point going to print out part of this document? In which case, it looks like printer configuration is not enabled in your new laptop. Would you want me to go ahead and do it? Even better, if it has the right permissions, it can do all these actions in the background, right? You can imagine the power, because oftentimes this context switching is what takes people out of their working zone, right? When salespeople or people in legal, people in HR are working on a hard problem, particular problem, focusing matters like this, right? The bad Wi-Fi or not being able to do what they want to do is a big distraction, productivity sucker. This is where agents would come and help a lot without compromising any basic security, without compromising on the various regulatory standards you may have, the privacy regulations. This is where the agentic AI that we are talking about would bring a lot of additional capabilities to the rote automation that we have had with systems like RPA, right? So what is also important is the ability for an organization, an ability for a company to create these AI agents will also be substantially much lesser compared to building automation with the traditional RPA platforms. So I spoke about configuring printer as a basic, simple example. This is what a typical level 2 IT technician would do. With the agent model, with the AI agent model, you can create what we call as the digital employees, right? So these agents are as good as any employee doing his or her job function, except they are fully digital. So you create them, you provision them in your environment, give the agent the right information entitlement, all the permissions, and then no task is beyond the agent. So the intelligence that this agent brings in with the power of LLM in the background is the real difference between traditional RPA and the agentic AI that we are talking about, Sanjana. So the possibilities are really endless. For like, this is the idea of digital twins we have talked about for a long time. For every employee, you could have a colleague, a digital colleague, right? So to offload all the repetitive rote tasks, so they get to focus on what is important. And by doing that, your errors come down, your productivity goes up, because doing the same thing over and over is where people make a lot of errors. These agents don't make any errors. They just like are much more accurate. And this is where we are headed with the agentic AI model. This is basically the power of LLMs that we have mapped with the idea of RPA we have had all along. So this is going to bring a lot of changes, positive changes to the businesses worldwide.
Siddesh, would you like to add something?
Right. Like how Rajesh beautifully put it, let me rephrase it in a layman's language. An RPA is task-oriented. Agentic AI is goal-oriented. And that would be So the piece that is really coming in, and now let me take a step backward and now talk about what is the evolution between the core Gen AI that we've been talking about over the last 1 year and what is agentic AI, bringing it into that perspective, right? The piece that changed with Gen AI coming in is AI understands your business context. You're not just talking about AI understanding your data, but you're talking about AI understanding your business context. Now, if I were to talk about a Gen AI and an AI agent or an agentic AI evolution, we are talking about, again, to put it in a layman's term, I would call it as a deterministic and a non-deterministic approach. What is a deterministic approach? Deterministic approach is a Gen AI powered AI assistant kind of an approach, where you're still getting him to perform a lot of automated tasks, retrieve information, make a decision, understand it in context, and talk about it. The agent piece is a piece which is a non-deterministic approach, where you are letting the agent take a whole bunch of decisions. And not just that, you are now talking about how do agents talk to each other. So you would have multiple agents in there. There could be an HR agent, there could be a sales agent, there is a ticketing agent, which is, let's say, a ServiceNow, and so on and so forth. And there is a mother orchestration agent that lets you orchestrate across these agents and get to a decision. And Rajesh made a very, very important point, which is all of this has to happen within a guardrail. There cannot be an error. These are business decisions that are happening. So how do I have a AI governance layer that ensures all of these decisions are taken within the right guardrails? And broadly, if I talk about very three broad pillars of what are the AI governance pillars we are talking about, the first pillar we are talking about is around risk. Let's say for a bank, how do I prevent gender bias, caste bias? How do I bring in explainability? An AI cannot reject a home loan saying I'm a black box, but there has to be an explainability if a home loan gets rejected. How do I prevent drift? You start with something on AI, your data sets keep changing. It shifts from what it was intended to do right in the beginning. And that is a drift. How do I control that drift becomes an important point. How do I, as I get into the LLMs, how do I prevent profanity? How do I prevent hallucination? Hallucination from an enterprise context, right? If the LLM is hallucinating, you've got to stop it then and there. You can't even let it respond in that context, be it the agent or be it your AI assistant. Both elements come in. How do I prevent profanity, hate profile? How do I prevent it from exposing PI information? A whole bunch of things. The second pillar that comes in, Sanjana, around the agentic AI and the new Gen AI framework is around compliance. How do I meet the regulatory and the statutory elements that come in? And the third pillar, which is as important, is how do I manage this as a life cycle? How do I do my process governance? How do I do my ML ops, LLM ops, agentic ops? The whole gamut is the third thing. And so the piece that Rajesh spoke about, how do I ensure there are no errors and this can be used in a business context, is an extremely important piece.
Yeah, very good insights, Siddesh. Like, very well explained. Thank you.
Any concluding remarks before we wrap the conversation? Siddesh, do you have anything to add?
So what this is changing very drastically, like I said, the fundamental change that the inflection point that foundation models or Gen AI brought over the last 2 years is the extensibility of this getting used practically across the board. Every department, every LOB, this is no longer an IT domain. This is in fact become a line of business domain more than an IT domain today. And you have the CHROs, the CMOs, the legal heads, the business heads jumping in saying, how can this help my day-to-day operations? How can this help me achieve operational efficiency? How can this help me do a much better customer experience? It is helping us extend all of this way beyond what we originally thought. And like Rajesh earlier alluded to, AIOps, a whole lot of AI is going into the IT operations piece. Simple things like when a ticket used to get raised, a typical support engineer used to come in and scan through the logs to figure out what changed over the last 3 months, 4 months. Today, with Gen AI coming in, within a minute, he has a dashboard which he has a quick summary which tells him over the past few weeks, what have the changes been in there? And his starting point, he would have spent hours to figure that out, browsing through those logs for last many weeks, right? So small things, but which are very impactful. And I think this is just the beginning. With the right guardrails of responsible AI, this is out there to scale. And how enterprises can really extract value out of this will depend on how fast they can adopt and how well they can scale this within their enterprise. Thank you.
Rajesh, would you like to go next?
Yes, agree with everything Siddesh said, and touching upon his last point. It's up to the enterprises how they will leverage AI. I want to summarize with what I started with. AI, particularly generative AI, agentic AI, they bring a lot of power, a lot of promise potential. But often companies do not really understand their current position. So what is very important is to know how ready you are to leverage. I always emphasize this. This is the question we ask ourselves inside our company, right? We have all these options available. How ready are we, right? Because oftentimes, not just AI, this is with any tool, high tech or not, any tool, unless you are in a position where you know how to use the tool really well, the tool actually could end up harming you, right? You don't want to be in a position where you've made a lot of investments with AI, and then you are finding yourself, you are sort of babysitting your AI platform more than what you need to run your business and serve your customers. That is what we keep thinking about for both ourselves and for our customers. How should our product be? AI should not even be visible products. It should just be in the background, just popping out contextually, right? So like we also discussed, just explain things where they are needed for the right context. Be very goal-oriented, things like that. So that is how companies should be approaching AI. So we just gotten started with AI. It is evolving really fast. A lot more would evolve faster as well, which means it's all the more important for all of us to strengthen our digital basics, the digital transformation basics, so to say, be in the right position to leverage what AI needs to offer. That's how I will conclude, Sanjana. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddesh and Rajesh, for your insights on the dynamic and evolving nature of AI. Thanks so much for participating in this.
Thank you.